Go, 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 go.
Got gridlock basically everywhere.
This has got potential for a major incident. Request 15 additional engines.
1 year ago, a spark at the wrong place at an even worse time turned into a firestorm of historic proportions.
We have passed by hundreds of homes burning, as well as businesses.
Oh my God, the tree's burning right next to us.
All those homes gone.
I can feel the heat now.
The campfire burned into the record books as the state's deadliest and most destructive fire ever. The town of Paradise was lost in just hours, along with Concal, Magalia, and the neighborhoods around them. 85 dead, more than 14,000 homes gone. An entire community burned to the ground.
The fire took everything. Paradise is gone.
1 year later, the ground is still scarred, the pain still fresh, but this community is determined to rise from the ashes.
Seeing what they are accomplishing every single day, more lots cleared, it makes you feel like, it's happening.
So people moving on, it's not going to be the same, the town isn't going to be what it was. It kind of died that day.
It's a blank slate now. It can be anything it wants. We can learn from the past and rebuild much better.
It's home. It's home. I couldn't imagine going anywhere else and starting over.
I'm Madison Wade. Tonight we are marking 1 year since the campfire. This time last year, our reporters were on the ground as flames turned day to night, as first responders raced to get people to safety. And we have been there in the months since, sharing stories of loss, recovery, and hope. Tonight we want to show you Paradise as it is today, how survivors are healing, how they're rebuilding. But we begin by remembering the 85 people lost in the campfire. They were grandfathers, grandmothers, fathers, mothers, brothers, and sisters. Most who died were found inside their homes. Many never got that message to leave. With 85 victims, there are so many families grieving the loss of their loved one tonight. We bring you one man's story, Julian Binstock. He died with his dog Jack, together on November 8th, 1 year ago. It's a road well-traveled, but this time it doesn't look the same.
Well, I know where I am, I know where I'm going, but all these houses that I drove by and nothing.
Paradise is almost unrecognizable for Phil Binstock. The streets, the landmarks, the memories, all gone after November 8th.
I've never been in a war zone, but that's what I would imagine a war zone to be.
He remembers driving this way a few days after the campfire to look for his father, Julian.
Dad was one of two people they could not account for initially.
On the way back up to his father's, the questions fill his mind. What if? What could have been done? And why?
The first thing that struck me, besides the obvious devastation, was the complete silence. This is,
We arrive where his father, Julian Binstock, lived. Feather Canyon Retirement Community. This now empty lot was his home.
This is what's left of my father's house.
It's not what he remembers.
This was his home, right here. As you walk into the living room, you go straight to the dining room. To the right was the kitchen, and then to the right was the door to the garage. The garage was right here.
Phil tried to get a hold of his father. Phone calls made to the retirement community went to voicemail. The lines just rang.
Within seconds, engulfed the entire house.
Phil never heard from his dad. He visited every single evacuation center for weeks to try to find him. He made flyers. He posted on Facebook. His family didn't give up hope until an investigator asked Phil for a DNA sample, saying a body had been found.
It took about 2 weeks to get the DNA confirmed, sympathetically, humanely, kindly, gently. Explained to me that the DNA test had confirmed that the body they found was my father.
Julian's body was found in the bathtub with his rescue dog, Jack. Phil thinks the fire came too quick and too fast before his father could get out.
When I think of my father now, I think of his accomplishments.
Julian was the youngest of 7 children. He was wise beyond his years. Valedictorian, he graduated from Harvard on full scholarship and retired as one of the VPs for Warner Brothers. He was simply amazing.
We miss Dad. You know, there are moments when I think to myself, oh, I wonder what this word means. I want to call Dad. And then I realize there's no one to call.
Phil is not alone. There are so many other families going through the same loss. It's hard to comprehend. The names take up these crosses.
I want people to know that it's not personal. The fire wasn't personal. It took victims as it took them. The grief is not a single emotion. It's a combination of emotions. Loss, sadness, fear, anger in some cases.
And 1 year later, Phil is looking away from the pain to the memories of his father. All that's left from his time in paradise.
It's not gonna be an easy day. You know, I'm trying not to mourn my dad, but you know, much as I keep telling myself I'm not gonna mourn him and I'm gonna just rejoice in the good things, the pain is still there. So I would just tell whoever's lost somebody up here, go do something to celebrate that person.
I asked Phil what he's going to do on November 8th to remember his father. He tells me he's going to his favorite sushi restaurant in Chico and he's going to have dinner there. He's going to be alone, but he knows that he's not really alone because his father will be with him. For so many fire survivors, the trauma of November 8th is still so fresh.
We're still living in it every day. We still drive by our house. We still drive by our businesses. We still, you know, I look where my animals were in that yard over there. I mean, and so that doesn't go away.
In the campfire, Candace and Eric Seals lost the home they and his parents lived in. They lost their business, all their belongings, but they also endured a kind of loss impossible to quantify.
Well, I lost my father in the fire too. He had a heart attack when my mom and my dad were evacuating. And I called my mom and she said, you know, we're in the 4-bay parking lot in Oroville. And I said, well, we're gonna come. And she goes, no, everything's fine. The Rangers are here. They're looking after us. That next morning, I got a call from my mom saying my dad had passed in the parking lot.
Both Eric and his father are veterans. He was the only person Eric could talk to about the horrors of war and their lasting impacts, which he said the fire brought right back.
And I actually, you know, I have some trauma from the Persian Gulf when I was out there. And it's fire related. I had PTSD from that, and I pretty much ignored it my whole life. And then the same thing happened here. I was trapped. I came to go get my dad. I couldn't leave. Both the main roads out of town were blocked, so I just stayed here and fought the fire.
Grieving his father, without a home, his PTSD triggered, and living in an also traumatized community, Eric says one day he just lost his grip.
There's not like a lot of signs. Just one day, total meltdown. I don't know, it's like a explosion, just a bomb went off. And then that was it. Completely checked out.
So I ended up going to Menlo Park. The VA has a good facility out there, and I stayed out there for a little while and got some trauma counseling. But I feel fortunate for that because, you know, at least I've had some counseling.
Now he worries about his wife, who hasn't had counseling.
I was grocery shopping. It was a, good day. I'm coming back up the hill and I just lose it. I'm hyperventilating, I'm crying.
A year after driving through walls of fire for her life, in a burning car, calling relatives to say goodbye, thinking she wouldn't make it, Candace says now she's the one with the nightmares, hypervigilance, and the irrational, paralyzing fears.
Overwhelming, like small things are hard. It's nothing, but it feels like everything. I mean, and that is trauma. That's the result of trauma.
At 211, operators witness a similar pattern among survivors who call in.
And a lot of things are moving now into recovery mode, and some people just aren't there yet. There's people that I believe are just now starting to be able to think through things, and it's almost a year later thinking about how to move forward. People are calling it, trauma brain. You spent 45 years building a life, and then you get handed this.
The campfire destroyed nearly 14,000 homes in Paradise, of which only a handful have been rebuilt. There are federal, state, city, and nonprofit programs to cover the basic needs of survivors. But in a traumatized Paradise, in a state with an ever-increasing number of climate catastrophes destroying homes and taking lives, mental health services are hard to come by.
They have the trauma of having lived through it, and now they have the trauma of trying to rebuild through it or make their way through it. And it's almost as traumatizing for some people to try and navigate this entire system.
The houseless neighborhoods of Paradise feel hollow these days. A year after the fire, most of this town sits deserted. But if you follow your ears, you'll find the first pioneers of the new Paradise starting to rebuild.
There's no more trees. I had 11 trees here. They're gone.
The fire wiped most of Paradise off the face of the earth. To keep it from also being wiped off the map, Paradise needs people. People like Woody Culleton.
I was able to get back into town on Saturday after the fire, and I've been in town almost every day since.
Woody's finishing the new house he'll share with his wife, right on the dirt where his old one stood. He says the handful of people up here already feel like a community again, but it's different now.
I don't know anybody that escaped that didn't think they were going to die. And then how do you manifest that? I mean, I stay busy, so I put it off.
That emotional shell Woody put on is working out okay. He's making progress. He showed me around the house and the finishing touches he's making. Inside, Woody told us the shell, recently, he felt it start to crack.
It was a weekend, and all the construction crews were gone. And I sat out there.
He heard it sound normal again.
That's sound. It wasn't trucks all day and Jake brakes. Just that simple thing there. The sound of the traffic on the road that I've been living next to for 30 years.
What? It just hit you? What hit you?
I'm home. That simple. It's familiar.
Paradise spent most of the last year looking anything like home. It was a picture of apocalypse. Chimneys popped out of the rubble like headstones, a constant reminder of the day death visited this place and took 85 people.
I mean, we lost everything. We lost 95% of every house, every business.
The fire burned 18,000 buildings. A year later, almost all of them look like they've been erased, past their foundations, down to bare dirt. Most of Paradise looks like what it is, a giant construction job with no set start date.
How long is it going to be before this is functionally a neighborhood again?
I think in about 5 years, I would see us as a functional neighborhood.
Town Councilman Mike Zuccolillo knows plenty of people still waiting to decide what to do with their empty lots. But he also knows a huge chunk of Paradise's population simply isn't coming back.
I think some people are holding on to that. They want that back.
The old Paradise.
The old Paradise. And you want things that you can't replace.
The campfire claimed 85 lives, and now it's driving many thousands more people here to move away.
So the hard part is like the town's never going to be the same. I can be as optimistic as I want to. This neighborhood and every neighborhood in town will change.
In half a day, the flames of the campfire destroyed the homes of almost 22,000 people in Paradise and thousands more outside town limits in Concow and Magalia. A handful moved back right away and spent the last year living in trailers on their lots.
Trailer living's not easy when you've got a big dog, a 5-year-old child.
Sarah Smith admits her family thought about moving away.
We just would look at each other and say, no, I can't do it. I can't live anywhere else. This is home. Like, no matter what happens with the town, I want to be here. I want to fight for my town.
But staying here takes a willingness to stare down a lot of unknowns.
When we did come back, all these questions came up of, oh my gosh, is this even going to be a town again? What do we do with our lives? What do we do with our 5-year-old son? Is he going to have a life up here?
The campfire burned most of the businesses here. Even more that survived had to close. The few that have reopened wonder how they're going to make it work.
We're trying to figure out who is our customer, because it was a lot of older people that lived up here before, a lot of retired people. A lot of those people are not coming back.
Woody plans to move into his new house by Thanksgiving, and he can't wait.
It's still small town America, you know?
But there are countless small towns in this country. So you gotta wonder, why would anyone want to spend the next few years in this one, waiting for it to spring back to life? For Woody, the answer goes back a long time. Back to when he first got here, 30 years ago.
I reinvented myself in this town. I sobered up here, I got clean, I got married, I raised, my life started over here.
Disaster can destroy all the stuff in paradise, but not the idea of paradise.
Paradise was a loving, caring, safe community, and it still is.
It won't be easy. There'll be progress to celebrate and pain to heal. Friends who will never come back, and new ones to meet. Every town on Earth sees its moments of grief and moments of joy. As they build the new paradise up on this ridge, the people here can expect more than their share of both.
1 year after the campfire, so much has changed. Paradise is rebuilding, survivors are healing, trying to find their new normal. We will continue to tell these stories of recovery and resilience, but tonight we want to bring your focus back to the lives we lost, and we leave you with their names. Joyce Akeson, Herbert Alderman, Teresa Amons, Rafaela Andrade, Carol Arrington, Julian Binstock, David Bradford, Cheryl Brown, Larry Brown, Richard Brown, Andrew Burt, Joanne Cotty, Barbara Carlson, Vincent Carota, Dennis Clark Jr., Evelyn Klein, John Digby, Gordon Dice, Paula Dodge, Randy Dodge, Andrew Downer, Robert Duvall, and Beverly Powers.
Paul Ernst, Rose Farrell, Jesus Fernandez, Gene Forsman, Ernest Foss Jr., Elizabeth Gall, Sally Gamboa, James Garner, Richard J. Garrett, William Godbout, Shirley Haley, Dennis Hanco, Anna Hastings, Jennifer Hayes, Matilde Ishka and Christina Heffern, Lou Herrera and Dorothy Lee Herrera,
Ava Holt, T.K. Huff, Gary Hunter, James Kinner, Warren Lissard, Dorothy Lee Mack, Sarah Magnuson, John Malarkey and Joanne Malarkey, Chris Maltby, David William Marbury, Deborah Morningstar, Helen Pace, Joy Porter, Robert Quinn, Joseph Rabetoy, Forrest Ray, Vernice Reagan, Ethel Riggs, Lilene Rios, Gerald Rodriguez,
Christopher and Phyllis Salazar, Sheila Santos, Ronald Schenk, Bernice Schmidt, John Sedgwick, Donald Shores, Kathy Shores, Judith Cipher, Larry Smith, Russell Stewart, Victoria Taft, Shirley Tees, Joan Tracy, Ellen Walker, Donna Ware, Isabel Webb, Marie Weehee, Kimber Wurr, Carl Wiley, David Young, and one person who remains unidentified.